Hello and welcome to our guide on getting ready to reopen. My name is Laura and I'm part of the customer success and support team here at ResDiary. With me today is Tom, an expert in all things ResDiary and hospitality, who will be guiding us through some of the features within your diary that you can use to maximize your bookings and help you generate that all-important revenue. So Tom, can you give us a brief outline of what the guidance is for hospitality right now?
Well, in England, you'll be able to reopen from the April the 12th, but that will only be for your outdoor areas only. As of May the 17th, hospitality will be able to serve indoors. Scotland is slightly different, so you'll be able to open all hospitality on April the 26th. However, there is a limit to only serving alcohol outdoors, and they'll have slightly different opening times, or closing times rather, when you're inside and outside, so that will require a little bit of a different setup.
What are some of the likely problems that venues will face when reopening?
I think the big one will be no-shows, as many diners we've had reports of them trying their luck and booking multiple venues. With outside dining, weather is going to be an issue, so it's really important that customers know what area that they're going to be sat in, particularly also if you're utilising a bar area as well indoors to seat people. It's always good to let customers know that in advance. And lastly, average time rules and leave time rules. So something in the diary you can set up. How long are you giving your customers at the table? And when are you telling customers that you require a table back? Make sure that you're turning your tables and maximising your revenue.
And how can your diary be used to implement this guidance and avoid these problems?
There's lots of different ways to achieve this, but the main aspects that we'll be looking at today to help you be able to put this in place are going to be looking at creating your new areas and making sure that they are available online for bookings. Also using promotions to alert customers what is available at this certain time that they're booking, and also having a quick look at your services as well to make sure that you're giving the right length of time to tables, whether they're booking sort of lunch or dinner.
Okay, so where would a venue start this process?
Well, first and foremost, we need to check that we've got the right areas that are available for online reservations. So looking at my test diary here, I've got 3 areas set up. I've got a main restaurant, I've got a bar area, and I've got an outdoor seating. Now, normally I wouldn't allow my customers to book the outdoor seating area. It was normally just for walk-ins, but I want to make sure I can utilize that for reservations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch that area on for online bookings, and I'm going to do that by going to the settings and scrolling down underneath table management here to the areas section of my settings. And you can see here that we've got main restaurant and the bar area. Both are available for online bookings. But if I click edit here, I can switch that area to allow bookings online. And it's just a tick of a box here. Okay. Make sure we save your changes at all times. And now we've got 3 areas available for online bookings. All right. When we're reopening, I want to also be checking my services as well. So what hours have I got available in my diary for bookings? And again, we're going to go back to the settings and down to the services section here. So just a little footnote on the services. Services are in your diary so that you have the ability to adapt the way in which you take bookings at certain times of the day. So as a sort of standard, we have that for a lunch and for a dinner, because we know working in hospitality, lunch service doesn't quite run the same way as a dinner service. However, these timings are really, really crucial that you get them right. The services are applicable 7 days of the week, 365 days of the year. So what we want to do is make sure that within your services that they are set at the widest possible parameters so that you can take an online booking at any point throughout the day in your diary. Now, in this particular setup, I don't take bookings. My last booking for lunch is at 2:30 until we start dinner at 5 o'clock. But we can close that out, and we're going to be concentrating on them after we've looked at the services. So you can close out the times specifically that you don't want to take bookings. But I certainly want to have the flexibility so that I could take a booking at any time of the day. If you just look for the edit button at the side here, there's a few different settings that we can look at within each particular service. So it's important to remember you'll have a set of settings for lunch and a set of settings for dinner or any other services that you've got. But the main one that I touched on earlier was making sure that your average time per booking is correct. So you're maximizing the amount of available space in your diary. So on this first page here, you've got the default average time per booking, which we've got set as 90 minutes. But we can refine that even further and give it different lengths of time for a booking at a table, depending on the cover size as well. And we do that in the average time rules. So the trick here is to have a real think about how long do customers normally stay in your venue. And you want to make sure that you're not giving, say, 2 hours at a table for a booking of 2, when more than likely they're only going to spend 90 minutes, because that's a big chunk of time that is just getting blocked out of your diary that other customers can't book. On the other hand as well, you don't want to give yourself too little time for the customer at a table, because you don't want them to feel like they're being rushed, and equally, you don't want to leave yourself with not enough time to actually serve that customer as well.
So how do we create one of these average time rules?
So to create a new average time rule, you just hit this add button at the top here. And the beauty is with these average time rules is I'm sure people don't stay in your venue the same length of time on different days of the week. So we can in fact actually layer these on top of each other. So let's create an average rule which says I want to only give covers booking between 3 and 4 people on my busier days of Friday and Saturday. I in fact only want to allow 90 minutes at the table. A rule here which has got additional information, it pretty much plays top trumps. So you've got 3s and 4s for Sunday to Thursday is going to get 1 hour and 45 minutes. But on Fridays and Saturdays, I only want to give 90 minutes at the table. Those are my busy days. Those are where I want to make sure I'm getting multiple turns on my tables.
And how does the guest know how much time they have on the table?
Well, the answer is they don't know unless you add a leave time rule. The leave time rule is either off or on. And if you click up at the top here, we've got our leave time rules. So the reason that they're not on all the time is because, like, for example, I used to manage a tapas restaurant and we had 160 covers. Now, Monday to Thursday, it was never an issue that I needed to tell customers I needed the table back, because there was always free space. So it wasn't, it's never nice to tell people you need the table back if you don't necessarily need to. But I used to have a leave time rule always added on a Friday and Saturday, so that the customer is told what time they are, that you require the table back. Now, I imagine when you reopen, you're going to want probably almost all your tables to be told you need a leave time, because let's face it, we're all going to be busy. So if you edit this rule that I've already got here, I only had it applicable on Fridays and Saturdays, but I in fact want to make that applicable 7 days of the week. I've also got it activated so that anyone booking between a party size of 1 and 99, so that just covers everyone. And I can have the start time as 5 o'clock, so that's the start of my dinner service, and then up until 8 o'clock, or you can go slightly further. What I'm usually think here is that at what point does your restaurant usually quieten down, so that if I've got someone sitting for 90 minutes at a table, if they're booking at 8:30, chances are I'm probably not going to sell that table again at 10 o'clock. So you could probably just pare it back to have the leave time switched on until 8 p.m. Anyone booking later than that, there's no need to tell them that you require the table back.
Right, so our areas are online, our services are all set up. How do we know we're selling the correct area on the correct date? How do we know we're not going to sell the indoor area before the 17th?
Well, the reason that we can set this up is using closeouts, and closeouts are these blocks of colour that we have on the grid on our diary. So at the moment, with all our areas online, it's all the white space that is bookable. I've currently got these closeouts in my diary to dictate when I actually want to take bookings for lunch and dinner, but we need to add in a couple more to allow customers to only book indoors when we want and outdoors when we want as well. And to do that is by going into the settings again. And this is how we're going to put in a recurring closeout. So settings and into closeouts here. And down at the bottom here, we've got the option to add a new period, add a new closeout. And in the name at the top here, we want to obviously be quite succinct as to describing our closeout, so that we know exactly what this closeout is referring to on our main diary. So we're going to call it lockdown closed. This is only for internal use, so customers can't actually see what you're writing here. Lockdown closed, opening outdoors on the 12th of April. And the important thing is to change this mode from manual to periodic. Now, I want to close my diary from today, the 25th, up till and including Sunday, April the 11th. That means that we can therefore be open on Monday the 12th. We want this closeout to go in 7 days of the week, so we're going to tick all days. And you can pick a different color. I always suggest picking different colors because it makes it easier for you to identify your closeouts on the main diary screen. Now, in the services, my diary runs from 12 o'clock all the way till 11:30 p.m. So when you're adding a time interval, you want to close out every single time slot in your diary. So I'm going to close this diary from 12 o'clock right through till 11:45 p.m. in all areas and hit add. And that is going to run that closeout into the diary. And you can briefly see at the top here, we've got that closeout gone in to the 12th of April.
Well, that's us all set up for the 12th, but offering indoor dining from the 17th, what would that entail for us?
Good question. And all it requires is another closeout. So much like we've just done there. So we want to add a new periodic closeout. And again, we're going to label this one nice and clearly. So we'll call this one indoor closed. And copy that into the description as well and just elaborate on it a bit further because you can see that on the main diary screen as well. So indoor closed, opening indoor on the 17th of May. And we want to change this from manual to periodic again. But instead, we can just change the date range. So we want this closeout to go in starting from April the 12th. And we want it to go up until and including May the 16th, Sunday. 7 days of the week. Let's pick another color. And add the time interval that we want to do again. So again, I just want to close the whole timings from 12 o'clock right through till 11:45. Closing out my whole diary. But instead of doing it in all areas, I only want to be able to select the indoor areas. So the main restaurant. And when you create a new closeout for the first time, it will bring you back to this screen, but it's nice and easy just to click edit again. And I can add in a closeout for my bar area normal operations as well. So 12 until 11:45. And in the bar area as well, and add time. And that is obviously put that in our two inside areas, and we can just hit cancel now and go back to our main diary screen with the closeouts.
And what about existing venues? What about venues that already have their closeouts in place? What if we need to go ahead and update that for our post-COVID opening hours?
Well, it will just be a case of editing your closeouts that are already here. Now, because these closeouts are nice and well described, I know exactly which closeout is referring to what on my diary, so I know which one to edit. So I've decided I want to reopen, but I only want Sunday to Thursday to be a last booking time of 8:30. At the moment, it's currently set this one so that Sunday to Thursday last booking is 10. So if I edit that closeout, what I can do is, you can see you've got the time interval here added. I kind of just need to replicate that and build in the new time interval for my earlier closing time. So if I add in the from time of 8:45, that means that the closeout starts closing bookings at 8:45, but allowing the last booking at 8:30. And I want to do that all the way through till the end of my diary, up until that grey space, till 11:45, and that will close out the bookings for later on. Once we hit add time, that will run through, and you can see we've got 2 time slots here now. Now, just for purposes of keeping things tidy and not having overlapping closeouts, we don't need that time anymore, so we can delete it. But we're still not quite done yet, because this description is now outdated. It says last booking is 10 o'clock, but now this closeout is actually making a last booking Sunday to Thursday of 8:30. So I just want to edit that closeout again and make sure that I update that description, so that if I ever want to come back to it and edit again, I know exactly what it's doing, and hit update there.
Okay, and so how does that look on the grid?
Well, it should be immediately obvious on the grid as to whether or not you've done your closeouts correctly, because what we're looking for are these blocks of color. If there's any white space on your grid, that is obviously meaning that there's available space for online bookings. So on Thursday the 25th, we've got this closeout. If I hover over it, you can see that description. It's telling me exactly what that closeout is doing that we've added. So that's all good. And if we go to Tuesday the 13th, we're normally closed in this restaurant on a Monday. You can see now we've got our orange closeout, which says indoor closed, opening indoor on the 17th of May. But we have got our outdoor area available for bookings. And because we're on a Tuesday, you'll remember we edited so that Sunday to Thursday, our last booking is 8:30. And you can see on this column here, the grid, 8:30 is our last booking time. And the last date to check, again, will be Tuesday the 18th, because we're closed on the Monday. Now we can see our diary is fully open for bookings, both indoor and outdoor.
Okay, so the closeouts are in place. We've made sure that reservations aren't going to go into areas on dates that they shouldn't be. How does the guest know what area they're booking for on what date?
Well, the best way to do this, Laura, is by using promotions. And you can create promotions by going to Promote and to Promotions. And for those that are new to promotions, this is just a phrase that we use within the diary to give the customer an option or a choice, or some more additional information about what is available at the point that they or the date or time that they're actually booking. So I've made a couple of promotions already for the main restaurant and the bar reservation, so that, and these are attached to those particular areas within the diary. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a promotion for the outdoor terrace. So at the top here, we've got the name information, because this is what the customer is actually going to see. So we'll call this one outdoor terrace reservation. And the description box is even more important. When you're giving the customer a choice of an area that they want to select, make sure that they've got all the appropriate information so that they can make an informed choice, and there's no confusion when the customer arrives for their booking on the day. So an example would be, particularly in an outdoor terrace reservation, you've got some text here that I've added. Please note that the outdoor area is not covered, so be sure to check the weather before booking, as we may not be able to move you inside on the day. It kind of puts the onus on the customer a little bit, so they can, if they check the weather and they maybe think it's going to be wet, then maybe best not to book an outside table on that particular day. Down here, we've got the advertisement period, and this is really, really important. The advertisement period is when you want that promotion to be visible on the booking widget, not when it's bookable. So 99 times out of 100, the advertisement period should always be started from today, because generally when you're making promotions, you want to be able to test them and see how they look for yourself. So I'm going to put this as a start date from today, and I'm going to do this to a future date, just till 2025. That covers us for a while, so that it's continually visible on the booking widget. Now, when you're doing an area selection, this is probably another one of the most important parts, is selecting the correct area. So any customers that book the outdoor terrace reservation promotion, we only want to select them in and seat them in the outdoor terrace area. So we want to select this as available and also required. This required box here means that it forces the customer to make a choice. So they have to pick either outdoor, main restaurant, or bar seating area. They can't just choose on the day. And then lastly, we've got the validity tab. This validity is when you want that promotion to be actually bookable. Now, one thing to remember as well is that your areas aren't exactly going anywhere. You know, they're fixed. So I generally suggest making your outdoor promotions available and valid all day and 7 days of the week. Now, that doesn't mean that they're bookable at certain times that you've closed out. They'll only be bookable within the parameters that you've set with your closeouts and your actual booking times on the diary. Once you fill down that information, you can click save, and we've got our promotion set up attached to our particular outdoor terrace area.
Can we see what the guest would actually see when they're booking online?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can take your widget URL and load up or visit your website and actually check. And I would always suggest absolutely every time you make a change to promotion, always check it before you finish up. So if we look on April the 13th, 2021, we can pick a time when we want to book and go to next. You can see it's coming up with our outdoor terrace reservation with that additional information that the customer can see. And if we then go to the 18th of May, which is when we can open our indoor areas as well, you can see we've actually got our main restaurant and our outdoor terrace reservation promotions available as well.
You said earlier you were worried about seeing lots of no-shows on reopening. What can we do to combat that?
Well, with ResDiary, we've got you're able to take card details, but first and foremost, you have to connect with our PCI compliant payments partner called Stripe. And once you've connected with Stripe, you'll be able to have the ability to store card details when customers are making a booking online. Now, storing card details is a great way to reduce your no-shows because you're not actually taking any money from customers at the point of booking. All you're doing is storing their details so that in the event that there's a last-minute cancellation or a no-show, you can charge customers at your own discretion. It just takes away the faff of taking deposits and not having to refund people if they cancel it within a relevant time.
We know that the industry is struggling right now. Are there any other ways that a venue can generate revenue?
Well, first and foremost, get your diary up to speed based on what we've discussed and get your diary online. Even if you're not opening until May the 17th, that gives you almost 6 weeks to be able to start capturing bookings so that when you open on May the 17th, it means you've already got a busy diary and you can hit the ground running. In the meantime, we do have our order and pay add-on, which will allow you to use your diary for takeaway and collection services. And you can also add on vouchers as well, which is another great way to get cash in the tills before you reopen, and also tempt your customers to buy stuff for gifts as we go into the summer as well.
Are there any other tools in the diary that you think venues should be looking at right now?
There are heaps, but of course we can't go into all of them just now. I think it's really important to remember that it will probably be quite a long time since a lot of you have used the diary. So the best thing to do is do the basics, what we've been looking at, and reacquaint yourselves with the diary. In the meantime, we have loads of support content on our Customer Hub and our YouTube channel that can get you started. And the ResDiary Success and Support team is always on hand to help you.
Tom, thank you so much. That was really helpful. We've linked a few key video guides with this film to help you get ready to reopen. And remember, if you need any support with your diary, you can raise the ticket by clicking on the help icon in the diary or by emailing us at support@resdiary.com. Thank you so much for watching, and we wish you the best of luck with your reopening.